everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episodes 4, 5, and 6 of the Ironheart series. So if you haven't watched those episodes yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disneyplus, check out all 3 of those episodes, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from episodes 4, 5, and 6 of the Ironheart series, it's Jon Jon Rico.
Hello.
Hello.
It's me.
It's you.
It's you.
I was trying to think of some kind of catchphrase from episodes 4, 5, or 6 to say, and I was like, I don't know.
I couldn't remember any lines particularly to think of.
Exactly.
It's been a little bit since I watched it.
I couldn't think of anything cool, but like, that is not to say that these 3 episodes were not cool. Like, I was, because the opening 3 episodes were so great, I was worried about these episodes. Like, can they make these? Can we stick the landing basically and have finish out just as strong as I feel like the first 3 episode chunks started? And I think they did a really damn good job of sticking the landing. It was consistently good across all 6 episodes in total after watching the whole thing. Kicking it right off, I mean, there's so much to talk about in this. And, I mean, we can either say this is the finale chunk or we can say it's episodes 4 through 6 chunk. Like, however we want to, terminology-wise. I mean, it is the end of the first season, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get another continuation of this because I really did thoroughly enjoy this. But there's a lot of, like, really funny moments and really cool moments and just so much packed into these 3 episodes, which is exactly what we were expecting because the first 3 had so much packed into them. But so just immediately kicking them right off. I know last time you went through all the title cards, so I was really excited to watch the title cards for episodes 4 through 6. And I can't, at this point, I think it was episode 5. I could be wrong though, but it's the one with the White Castle scene and everything like that.
5, yeah.
Episode 5. Okay, I was pretty sure it was episode 5. But being someone who is currently living in New Jersey and sees the logo for White Castle multiple times a week, like type of thing, I thought it was perfect. That was such a cool integration of the title card into that White Castle logo because I was like, oh shit, that was awesome.
Yeah, I really liked all the title. The one the feast table.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
That one
was
as
cool
well.
Too. I think the other one was it the picture frame? I think maybe of this one. I'm not sure. I get the weeks all messed up. After everything that happens with John Parker's cousin, I think it was. So I thought they were all really well put together throughout the whole show, really.
Right, absolutely, yeah. I was saying it in the first 3. I thought it was such a cool way because it didn't take away from the opening scene, and it didn't take anything like it didn't go into this big credits and everything like that before going right back into the rest of the story. So it was just like a quick an aside, really quick, just to go, oh, you're watching Ironheart, just in case you didn't know.
It's immersed into the story, which is cool.
Right. The other thing is, and like I said, we're gonna get into so much more. I love the little funny moments with Zeke's character, and in particular, I was telling you this before we started recording. I love when he's not in control and he's literally throwing people and just punching people and going, sorry about that. I can't help it. Like, it was just perfect.
Yeah.
I just loved all of that part. And just like anytime he was like not in control, but he wanted to resist. So he's just kind of being like apologizing as he's doing things.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Stuffing food in his face against his will. That was funny earlier. That was one of my just comedically great. Just kind of funny acting, I think, in general too. I just think of him on the set just being like, I had to act like I don't want to do this, and he's just like shoving food in his face. I'm like, yeah, that's must have been a fun, if not very stuffing day for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully it didn't take too many takes.
Hopefully he got like a spit bucket or something. Something like that. But anyway, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Rico, what are some of your instant reactions for episode 4 through 6?
Yeah, man. I really wish we would got this like a week to week kind of a thing, because I really would have enjoyed just kind of like the week to week discussion of each kind of like episode of everything that happened, because a lot of cool stuff happens in each episode. But we absorb so much in these big chunks, of course, that we take away a lot of small big big moments, but they're really just small chunks of a big amount of time that we get to watch overall. Yeah, and now I feel like that's always going to be one of the things that's like a detriment to this series overall, is the fact that it just came out over 2 weeks, so like people didn't get a chance to really like absorb and get into it as much. They just kind of like, okay, watch it, and now the next thing's coming out, make sure we're not like kind of overlapping all these things together, right? Because it's a pretty busy month, especially if you're into a lot of nerd content like we are. There's a lot to keep up with and watch right now, so it's a blessing and a curse, I say, at the same time for us. But man, for these like this final chunk of episodes right here, people say 2 thumbs up, but I just gotta say, two horns up. You know what I mean? Because Mephisto has freaking arrived, and I think it's quite the debut that we kind of all wanted. Of course, Sacha Baron Cohen making being cast in the role, and the character finally making his long speculated debut again ever since probably a WandaVision, of course. If you watch any new Rockstars videos, they've been clamoring for it for years, of course, and then they finally felt like this vindication. I feel like it was really funny to watch. But man, he absolutely kills it in his debut and as the character. I feel like he's got such a wild career, Sacha Baron Cohen, just in general, of course. Like you can know him as from the Ollie G show, of course, or as Borat or Bruno, like those funny kind of movies that he's done. But he's also done a great like collection of like dramatic works and work. There's a Hugo is a great Scorsese movie that he's in. He plays a really cool role in that. But he does a really good job, I think, of just kind of balancing out like a really, diverse career of acting. There's really not really things you'll see in him that just like they're just out of his wheelhouse. He's someone that can kind of adapt to anything, and I think this is actually a great example of that. For a second there, you almost forget that again. That's the Borat guy. That's just like playing a devil, and he's playing like a really great version of like the devil, which I think is really great. I even love the way he like reveals his name. Of course, and I've been known by many names and stuff like that, and anything calls himself Mephisto and stuff. I love that so much. I love this, and yeah, I just think his overall screen presence and the way he interacts with a lot of the characters is just really enticing, and it just makes me want to see a whole lot more of him in the future, because it just really, I feel like it's the biggest kind of like character debut since we got maybe Jonathan Majors when he debuted as He Who Remains and Loki. It just kind of has like that big kind of like, whoa, like we're watching like finally the like big MCU moment kind of stuff here, which I feel like we rarely kind of get in those TV shows. Like they're kind of saved for big movie moments and stuff like that. But sometimes the shows will take like that big cinematic leap like that and really introduce something big like this. So yeah, I really love that. But one of my favorite things overall was a really kind of like blink and you'll miss it moment. Is a shot of he's taking a little spoon to it, like his coffee or something like that, and then the cuts to the spoon and the reflection. You see the comic book form of Mephisto with the red face and the horns and stuff like that. And he's got the grin and everything. And I was like, okay, I thought we weren't going to see that in any form, but I feel like that was their great way of like really teasing like what he's going to look like later on. So it's a great shot. If you haven't seen like the screenshots and stuff out there, definitely go check them out because it looks really cool in the shot on the spoon. And it's a good next to the tease, of course, at the end of the 3rd episode, we got to see kind of like his overall figure and the cloak and stuff like that. And then of course we only get to see his human kind of like form here, whatever Riri and Parker see in their eyes, I guess. It's just a great tease of what we might eventually see in a bigger project later on. So yeah, what a debut for Mephisto, and I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And we were talking about this before we even started recording, like the potential other characters he can interact with and other places he could pop up. It's like there's so many things, and I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because we got plenty of stuff to talk about. But there's so many things that characters from this series could overlap into in the future of the MCU with other characters and stuff like that. It's just so cool that they were able to do that with this series. And now, like, just like you said, I can't wait for more. I can't wait for more Mephisto with Riri, with Parker. Like, there's a ton of with Zeke. Like, you know what I mean? Like, seeing all of these characters, whether we get a second season of this or whether they pop up in other projects and in other, you know, ensemble casts and stuff like that, it's just really interesting, and I can't wait. And I'm so happy that they were able to tie it into this series, and now there's like just so much that can come of this series and the events of this series in general. So
absolutely
really cool. But you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna kick off big takeaways with, you know, you got the reveal of Mephisto, which we've been like hoping for since, like you said, WandaVision. But I was like freaking out when we got, you know, mention of Dormammu and Karmatage, and just like, holy shit, I can't believe we got these in here by, you know, just like nonchalant, just mentioning these as, you know, type of thing, and integrating them into kind of the plot and parts of the story and other characters and stuff like that, because I feel like it's really opening the door, like I was already starting to say, opening the door to how many other potential crossovers and other directions that these characters can go, and other crossover characters that can, you know, potentially come into a second season if we do get a second season of Ironheart, or if, you know, we get a special presentation, or even, like, you know what I mean? Like, anything is possible. And I really love that, you know, we're getting more and more, you know, threads and connections into the magic and mystical side of Marvel and stuff like that, because it gives me hope that we are leading to, you know, a Midnight Suns and, you know, something with Moon Knight moving forward, because I really miss that character, and I'd like to see more of that. And, you know, potentially more characters from there, like a Ghost Rider and stuff like that, like all of these kind of things. Yeah, exactly.
Gives the guy something to do.
Yeah, actually getting a real, like, Blade storyline and everything like that.
Let Mahershala do his thing, man.
Yeah,
he's getting older.
Exactly. But I just thought it was really cool that we got mention of those. And what's crazy is, you know, not for nothing, we get, you know, the mention of two things that lead directly back, or bounce directly back to the end of Multiverse of Madness, because we had Clea and Doctor Strange going into the Dark Dimension with Dormammu, and we know we have Wong and America Chavez over at Carmitage. So, like, any direction they feel like going and exploring for a second season, like, could instantly bring in those characters right away, or, you know, whatever other project that Marvel has in store that involves either one of those, you know, places is, you know, perfect. And I'm excited. I'm here for it. I can't wait for the future of these characters and kind of seeing more and more of kind of the mystical things happening. Cause I just think it opens this other side of Marvel that we can get. Like, we've always had, like, you know, not for nothing, I love everything we've already had in Marvel, but I just think it's a different direction that we can kind of have two different things going at the same time. This more mystical kind of chunk, and our mainline MCU with our characters. And, you know, what we're supposed to be getting after Secret Wars is like the mutant saga and all this kind of stuff. And while they're building that up, we could also be building up this mystical side and stuff like that. I just think it would be really cool to kind of have these two going at the same time. And you can kind of get, you know, you can get both, best of both worlds, and kind of build both up in different directions at the same time. I just think would be really cool. Rico, what were some of your big takeaways?
Yeah, I love the whole scene when they go to Zelma's and her mom's shop right there, and she takes them to that, like, other dimension where they go test the cloak. Because like you said, it's a great expanding of that whole side of the MCU, the mystical side of the MCU and stuff, and a side of the MCU that's kind of hardly been explored outside of Doctor Strange, I would say. But at the same time, also, you know, she's not only she interacted now with, like, you know, interdimensional kind of beings and mystical beings and stuff like that, but she's also interacted with the Wakandan technology. So she's interacted with two forms of, you know, one technology and mystics and magic and stuff like that are just, like, you know, pretty much no other human has that really kind of, like, dove into the way that she has. So it kind of puts her knowledge level, I think, to another takes it up to another notch or two, I think, as well as kind of puts her up there, I think. So I really love that part. Yeah, but that's one of the things I love about this series in general is one how they kind of blend in not just a tech story, which it could have just been like an Iron Man kind of like not rip off, but just like kind of redoing kind of like that style of storyline where it's someone with a suit taking on someone like Zeke, and that it could have just been a show about her against Zeke, and that could have been the storyline, right? Just kind of like rehashing Iron Man, but the next generation of it in a sense. But no, they're like, okay, well, how do we do something but make it a little bit different? Let's blend in some mystical aspects of it, that, and then how do we use her smarts to kind of blend in some magical stuff as well? So yeah, I just love that whole approach, and so yeah, it expands that whole mystical side of the MCU, the technological side of the MCU too, because of her advancements with AI and stuff like that. And then also just the fact that it still feels like a street level story at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing that I feel like they've been trying really hard to kind of focus on as well. Is like even though there's like magic and stuff involved, it's still like a family story or a grounded
Right.
street story at the end of the day as well. It's not dealing with like these world ending threats. They had the potential to be world ending, but they can keep them contained enough to still feel street level, which I love that. But man, I think one of the things I think I really loved about this whole three chunk of episodes here, episode of chunk of three episodes. Geez, that was a tongue twister. Is Anthony Ramos' performance as Parker Robbins / the Hood? I think throughout the entire thing. I think we really get to see his real, kind of descent into madness with the influence of the Hood throughout this, this arc here. And I love, one, getting to see the original meeting between him and Mephisto, I think, which is where you get to see where he's originally at mentally going into that moment. One, just the way that Mephisto introduces himself in that too, like where he just looks to the left and all of a sudden there's the door to the pizza shop or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's just so fucking cool. But yeah, I just think that Anthony Ramos' like whole performance of that is just really well. Because again, we were talking about this before we started recording. Like, I feel like when we first see him interacting with Riri and stuff, that's like the normal Parker. And he seems more like a cool guy. Obviously we're led to believe that like he's a kind of a cool guy in nature. But then as we learn more about them, there's like he's a lot more complicated, and obviously it just leads to what we see later on in these episodes. But I just found his overall descent in the madness because of the influence of the Hood to be really fascinating to watch. I love the scene between him and his dad too, where he just eventually just kicks him out of his own house and then goes, okay, this is my house now and give me everything. So like just like that, the way that the way he kind of coldly plays that scene to his dad, I think is just really well done. And even just the way like when he's finally kind of rid of the Hood and the way he just kind of like he's desperate for it too, I think it's just really well played. And yeah. So I think he was just a really well cast character, and I'm really glad that they left his story open for more to come, of course. So yeah, and obviously the way he treated Zeke and stuff like that, I think their dynamic was really fun to watch as well. Was just really it was funny, but also like it just shows another way that he's willing to manipulate this person through the tech that he put into him. So he was never going to just give him something without giving something or having to get something back from him for it. So that was a great little character arc for him. So yeah, great job for Anthony Ramos as Parker Robbins, and also Alden Ehrenreich as Zeke too. I think he should definitely get his flowers for his performance in this episode. Like you said, I like the way they keep his story open ended as well. Like he's another person. Like no one really gets killed off in this in the way other than Parker's cousin, of course. But he's necessary for the story to forward itself. But the fact that the major characters all kind of go on and we can actually keep going with their stories is really fun, because like I feel like a common thing is like we'll bring in a cool villain from the comics and then they'll kill them off in some form, and then they'll be like, okay, maybe another version of them will pop up, but we're done with this version of it. So like I'm really glad that we're gonna stick with Parker Robbins for now, and of course Alden Ehrenreich as Zeke. Like I definitely think there's ways that you can introduce them into other stories later on for sure. But there's some particular like cinematography shots I really love throughout this episodes as well. There's a couple in particular that I really enjoy. One is when Zeke is fighting Riri in the suit, and he's starting to like kind of tear it apart, and then you see from Riri's perspective his eyes through her through the eye holes. I thought that was a really just like a cool shot. Like I just imagine this being like, okay, let's just cut to this shot of him looking through, and like we just see his eyes through her suit. And I was like, so I always love like cool choices like that. I think one of the big standout ones that's already been like made a gift throughout the internet and stuff is when or when Riri hits the truck and as the truck is flying over, she flips the bird on it. Just an epic shot, I think. Of
Yeah.
course, just like a one, just seeing the suit be sassy like that because it would have done that on its own. I feel like if Natalie was probably controlling it, but then you got Riri doing it, just like f you guys. I thought that was really funny. And then of course there's a couple great ones. Of course, when Parker has Riri at gunpoint, or what he thinks is Riri, but it ends up being the kind of the AI diversion. There's a great kind of like silhouette shot of him just kind of holding her at gunpoint. That's just really, really well lit. I think that was really cool. And then the shot of Riri using the suit with the magic, of course, it was a really cool shot, like with the Doctor Strange kind of like rings and stuff like that. So I was like, dang, that was like that's to me was that cool blend of like the tech and the magic that was like that made it all worth it for me. That whole like scene in general I thought was really great. That whole fight between Riri and Parker. We know when Parker's kind of full like kind of hood demon at that point. There's a great shot of Parker like straight up just like demon teeth and all that from Riri's perspective. Which was just I think that was really well done CGI. So yeah, I just there's some really great like CGI and actual just cinematography shots throughout the show that I really enjoyed as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it was one of those things. Number one, absolutely. I made in my notes made note of the, middle finger when the truck's flipping over. That was a perfect shot. That was hilarious. But yeah, there were a ton of good shots throughout all 6 episodes that were just really cool shots. Not only, the title cards, which we thought were really cool and stuff like that how they integrated those, but yeah, there was a lot to really enjoy just visually in this series in general.
The transition when they go to the other dimension and Zelma's in their mom's shop, where it just kind of like flips upside down on each other. That was pretty. The subtleness of that was really nice.
Yeah. There's just a lot of really cool things just to enjoy about this series that the little details here and there that they kind of didn't always have to put in, but they totally did, and it just made that extra little bit to enjoy.
Oh yeah,
type of thing. But you want to do some predictions?
I do.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick off predictions?
Okay, I feel like there's so much that you can really kind of like either spin off of here and expand upon in different stories here. I have 3 different kind of properties here that I've kind of written down that I think you can one. I feel like Marvel is going to do eventually, or they could possibly do if they wanted to. Obviously, I think the first one we all think of, I think might be when it comes, especially when we're talking about Mephisto as a threat. Is the Midnight Suns, of course. There's so many, we have so many characters that one have been introduced, of course, Moon Knight, of course, Doctor Strange, and we've had Blade tease and then a vocal of voiceover in Eternals, and there's another character right there is a Black Knight, Kate Harington's character from Eternals as well. Excuse me. So yeah, I just feel like you have a whole roster right there that could tackle the threat of Mephisto, but of course now we have to have Riri in there because of the way the series ended, of course, with her comic book hair, her big poofy hair, but then of course when she hugs the real life Natalie, that's a crazy reveal in and of itself, is that Mephisto brought Natalie back, and as soon as she feels the actual touch of Natalie, she's like, oh my gosh, and then of course we see that there's the same kind of veiny stuff that happened to Parker happening to Riri. So making the classic deal with the devil kind of thing. So now we're dealing with the fact that a hero has dealt with the devil in some form or another. So she'll have to be a part of that equation in some form. So so she can again go with that kind of roster of people, the Doctor Strange, the Blade, Moon Knight kind of thing, if that's the route they want to go with that roster. And then of course you have there's a thing called Strange Academy, of course, which is kind of like a group of like young magic dealers that Strange kind of like oversees and stuff. And of course, that's where Zelma comes from, of course. Like that's her comic book origin, of course. And even down to the glasses, she looks exactly the way she does. That's really great. But of course, we also, like you said earlier, we have America Chavez is over there right now. Of course, we have Wong. So we have our fair share of magic users here that could, be used to kind of help Riri with that problem as well. And then, of course, we have the Young Avengers team that's being set up. That's, Kamala Khan, Kate Bishop, potentially Tommy and Billy, Scar, I think is the name of Hulk's son, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, there's so many people that are being set up in all these little worlds here I feel like you can kind of blend the Young Avengers and Strange Academy kind of a thing. If you have, if we have like the Young Avengers team, we have a fair share of magic users. We don't know what's gonna happen with the White Vision thing. Yeah, if that's gonna, that's gonna forward Tommy and Billy's story a little bit. So we don't know what if he Vision could also play a kind of a factor into this as well.
Yeah.
Like there's so many factors to come in that could easily play into the story. Um, but yeah, I would like to see some kind of a mix of like, Doctor Strange overseeing, some like, Riri, America Chavez, what was it? Tommy and Billy, like the magic users, and then you get like Kamala Khan and Kate in there to kind of normalize it a little bit. She's got Kamala's got the kind of interdimensional powers up there with her gauntlets, but Kate would be kind of like the fish out of the barrel kind of a thing, just some fish out of water.
She would be the new Hawkeye, which is exactly what the original Hawkeye was.
Great,
like.
And then you can throw Scar in there for the Hulk thing, someone to punch Mephisto around when they need someone to. So yeah, I just think that's a fun, kind of an ensemble there you can play with. So yeah, and I'm excited for what like just the future that this one story actually sets up.
Yeah, I am right there with you. Like I see so much potential and so many, crossovers and storylines in different directions that they can go with so many characters. Like we've basically been saying throughout this entire, recap already. There are so many characters that have open-ended at the end of this series type of thing that we can go in any direction. I mean, we could see Zeke pop up somewhere and have him, continue with the storyline and figure out whether he's gonna, after his experience with Parker, if he's going to, turn back on the good side type of thing, or if that's going to drive him further into kind of following in his actual father's footsteps and kind of, type of thing.
This could lead to the return of Wanda. Like, if anything, like that's a big connection that's been made throughout ever since WandaVision, of course. We all thought that she was being, kind of manipulated by Mephisto in some way. He's talked about making quite a few deals throughout the past, and he obviously mentions Ringo and some some of the Ford's richest and stuff like that. But there's clearly I think some major MCU characters that he's implying in that sentence as well. And I think if you kind of went back with the history, there's probably some people you could probably like theorize like they probably made a deal with the devil at some point. So like, just to kind of get where they are. So yeah, I think that's a fascinating just theory alone that you can still play with. Just to one expand Mephisto as a threat throughout the overall MCU as well, just so that he's not just kind of looked at as like, look at this guy that these little kids are going to take out. Like that, I feel like that's the kind of would be like a common thing that some people would say. But like, no, yeah, we got to figure out a way to kind of bring in some heavy hitters to be like, yeah, he's going to enhance the threat. So we got Doctor Strange, we got potentially Wanda, she's still out there, of course, and then Vision could be another fun that could be a fun interaction to watch. Well, Mephisto and Vision, what the way those two brains are. Like I could see Mephisto trying to sweet talk Vision, and then Vision is like logical brain just being like, "Why are you trying to do this?"
Yeah. That would have been awesome.
It's kind of like when you watch the Vision and White Vision kind of have like their logic kind of word off against it, and when they kind of went at each other, that'd be kind of a fun battle word chess, I guess.
No, that would be really cool. And yeah, I mean, I'm here for any potential crossovers and connections that we can make from this because I enjoyed these characters in this series so much. One thing, look, I don't know if we're going to get it, but I would love a second season of this. And maybe we don't concentrate on everybody where they left off type of thing, but we more focus on kind of the Riri storyline with Natalie coming back, and now she's dealing with Mephisto and the deal that she made and kind of the repercussions of that, like, and kind of doing that. Because what I could see is getting a potential crossover where we bring into the fold Doctor Strange or Clea or both type of thing, and more kind of, because I just like that when, and I believe it was Riri who brought it up to Mephisto, said something like called him Dormammu, and he was just like, he's a piece of shit. Like,
yeah, I don't like that guy.
Yeah, type of thing. So like, I just think it would be funny if we had, if we pull in for a second season, Doctor Strange, Dormammu, and Clea, or Clea and Doctor Strange type of thing, and so it's almost like Dormammu versus Mephisto type of thing, like getting kind of that into the mix and playing those kind of sides type of thing.
I would like to see a better like physical representation of Dormammu that looks sort of like how we see him in the comics, where it's like he has like a body, but it's like a flaming kind of a head type of thing that looks like the big head version that we saw in the movie. So yeah, I would like to see kind of like a a scaled down version of him that has to like actually interact with someone, like Mephisto or something like that. Or maybe Mephisto has to scale up. Who knows?
I'm just look, look, I'm not gonna be upset if we see these characters all in other crossovers and in different things, but it would just be really satisfying to get another season and kind of more focus on, now we've established Riri as a character, we've established Riri's universe type of thing in Chicago and her family, and now we know she made this big deal. And I would just like to see, another 6 episodes kind of, or hell, 8 episodes focused on, the repercussions of that and dealing with like what's going to happen with Natalie and just like all of this stuff. I just think it would be a really interesting storyline. So I don't want to see that getting bits and pieces of that in other things. I would just love to see, even if it was just like a special presentation to just deal with that one storyline, I think would be really interesting. And just kind of seeing the repercussions and seeing, what she has to do that leads her to, getting out of the deal or overcoming the deal somehow, or even Natalie having to make, a self-sacrifice because she finds out about the deal and how it's hurting Riri and all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like anything like that could be a really cool story arc to kind of see. And I just wouldn't want to see that for like 5 minutes here in one thing and like 3 minutes here in another thing and stuff like that. Just that one kind of storyline I'd like to see wrapped up. And that's not to say that I don't want to see all of these characters in other things and crossovers and just kind of seeing, different ensemble casts and using these characters and seeing where everybody can go. But I just would love to see that finished. And I think it would be really cool to get a second season of that. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for.
Oh yeah, I definitely I just want to see just like everybody's reaction to what happened to that as well, especially Natalie's brother. Of course, I think especially the way he reacts to the AI version of her, and I gotta imagine like when he feels like an actual real version of like a real manifestation of her. I don't know how he's gonna feel about that. So yeah, and I just enjoy again that whole world around like Riri's whole home family world in general. It's just a really cool cast of characters to be around. So I would definitely want more of that in the future, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I hope it does not take as long as it took to kind of release as long as it took to release this first season. I hope we get that in like half the time.
I guess that's up to Coogler as well too, if he wants to go on Black Panther 3 or he's doing pretty good with that Sinners movie is pretty good too. So he might be doing more Sinners stuff. Give him Blade. Give me a Coogler Blade movie, I think. So but yeah, I'm here for more Riri, like in any capacity.
Same, absolutely. But as we always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of the Ironheart series in general? All 6 episodes. I mean, you can concentrate on the last 4, which we could kind of call the finale chunk, or you can concentrate on all of them. What did you think of the series? Do you want to see a second series, or would you rather kind of see these characters pop up in other kind of, movies, TV series, anything like that? Special presentations. I still think we could get like a Mephisto special presentation or something like that, or even a series kind of special presentation, just dealing with different deals and stuff like that would be kind of cool and kind of interesting. But let us know in the comments below. And what character would you like to see kind of pop up sooner rather than later, or is it just all of them? There's no wrong answer here. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.